welcome to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? A place where readers and writers and creatives come together to talk about art and books. And I am your host, Karen E. Osborne, and my guest today is Pamela Mshana. And wait till you hear her background. And really, her background is like 10 times longer than this. This is my little shortened edition of it. So she is a podcast host, an author, an educator, an inspirational speaker. She's an award-winning playwright. Her play, Ebony, was produced off-Broadway at Playwrights Horizons in New York City and at the Gas Lamp Quarter in San Diego. Mm-hmm. The same play was published by Dell Books and received a dramatic reading at one of my favorite places in the whole world and one of my favorite cities, at the Sydney Opera House in Sydney, Australia. Been there at least 3 times.
Wow.
The play, A Toast to Leslie, was also produced at the Gas Lamp Quarter Theater in San Diego. And most recently, which I'm going to ask her about this. I got to find out about this. She wrote and directed an original play, Thando of South Africa, for the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa. And if that isn't enough, she just had a debut novel land in June, Girls in Search of Cover. Welcome, welcome, Pamela.
Thank you. I love your energy. I can tell you love what you're doing and you love the topic that we're engaging around with reading and writing and also with me as your guest. So I really appreciate that. It's such a warm welcome. And I'm excited to share today. So thanks for inviting me. I'm truly honored and blessed by it.
Thank you. I am so excited. There's so many things I want to ask you about.
Okay.
So I thought maybe we would start with the theater before we get to your debut novel.
Sure.
So tell me about how you fell in love with the theater. How did that happen?
It's a funny story and it's kind of long. I'm going to try to be really, really quick. When I was in junior high school, I was this awkwardly shy young person, and my history teacher looked at me one day and said, I want you to recite this poem by Maya Angelou in our Black History program. And I recited the poem and I got such a response from it that I felt like, wow, I'm good at something. And remember, I prefaced all this with saying I was extremely shy. So it was incredible to find something that's like, I'm good at something. So one thing led to the next, and he then cast me in a play and did well there. Also a tremendous response. Shortly after that, the High School for the Arts opened up in Los Angeles. I auditioned and I got in. Well, I didn't find a monologue that I thought was appropriate for me. So what did I do? I wrote my monologues to use as an audition to get into the school. So I didn't know that our first assignment was going to be to do the monologue pieces that we used to audition and get in the school. So when the teachers found out that, they said, where did you get those monologues? I said, I wrote them. Well, just as fate would have it, or as God would have it, the Los Angeles Theater Center opened up a young playwrights lab shortly after I started at the High School for the Arts. And they came to the High School for the Arts to recruit. And of course, I joined that. The teachers recommended it to me. And while I was in that lab, my writing instructor entered my play into a contest. I didn't even know I was in the contest until I got the phone call saying I had won. So that was amazing. Goodness. So I had a love for acting, and I still do. And I've always had a passion or a natural inclination toward writing for as long as I can remember. But that's when I was introduced to playwriting, and I had an awesome instructor. And as a consequence of winning that contest, it's called the Young Playwrights Festival. It's out of New York City. I was then produced off Broadway at Playwrights Horizons, published with Dell Books by the time I was 19, and then entered the International Young Playwrights Festival, which caused me to have that production or reading at
In
the
Sydney.
Opera House. Yeah.
Yes. Oh
So
my goodness.
believe it or not, all that time I spent explaining that, that's the short version.
Well, that's still a remarkable story. That's an amazing story. Um, One of the things that you mentioned about being a monologue writer, one of the people that I interviewed, one of the authors that I've interviewed on this show, her name is Willa Hogarth, and she is a monologue writer, and she actually performed one for our audience right on. And she's from Australia, so there
Oh,
you go. You might want to
wow.
look that one up. You might want to watch
Okay.
Willa. It is a very,
Absolutely.
and she's very funny. It was
Okay.
it was a hilarious. So okay, so you fell in love with the theater first as an actor and then as a writer.
Mhm.
Who are some of your favorite playwrights?
I'm rather traditional. I would lean on Lorraine Hansberry, Still the
Mm,
Raisin in the Sun, and August Wilson, Fences, and things like that. And the reason I choose those is because I'm a realist. I like just everyday life being made larger than life so that we can think and pontificate around the issues, the themes, and I'm also interested in us being able to, okay, there you go. Work out our issues with the characters. So I like writing that causes the reader to explore and have introspection and maybe even have something that they gain from it that might change their lives for the positive. And I think those plays do that. And so I gravitate toward writers like that, whether we're talking about plays or novels or anything. I
yeah,
think I obviously believe in the highest standards of artistry when you write. So I think it needs to be a well-constructed piece of work. But along with that, equally important to me, of entertaining, making you laugh, making you cry, and all the range of emotions is a positive, strong message that affects people and hopefully makes
absolutely.
things better.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I wanted to ask you about the Oprah Winfrey Academy for Girls. How
Yeah.
did that come about?
Oh my goodness. All these questions are great, but they are kind of long stories. I'll try to again say it quickly. I was actually just minding my business, talking to my grandmother one day on the phone, and that was back when we had call waiting. So that was some years ago, actually. And I got a phone call from my high school theater teacher, and we had been out of touch for several years. Like, anyway, so she, if you know her personality, I answered the phone and she said, may I speak to Pamela Mshana? I said, this is she. And she said, Pamela Mshana, Susan's daughter. I'm going to cut right to the chase. It was no re-engagement.
How have you been?
That's her personality, though, and you gotta love her, and I do. But she said, um, Harpo has contacted me to put names in the hat for people who could go and possibly teach at the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls, and I want to put your name in the hat. And I immediately said no. And she said,
Oh,
don't say no, take some time and at least think about it. And I said, okay. But the reason I said no is I was a single parent. My daughter was a junior in high school. She was about to go into her senior year. And that's a scary time for young people. And all that just kind of flashed through my mind. And that's why I said no. But anyway, she said, take some time to think about it. I said, okay. But she said 24 hours. So my time to think about it was 24 hours. So I mentioned it to my mom and my daughter and my brother. We all prayed about it. And we decided, you know what? It's no harm in at least putting your name in the hat. So we went
mhm.
ahead and put my name in the hat because, there's chances maybe I wouldn't even be selected. And so after like about 4.5 months interview process, I was selected. And when they let me know, I think I had about 3 weeks to pack up and reorganize my life and go. But that's how it came about.
How long were you there?
I was there for a year, and
Wow.
I considered staying a bit longer, but a lot of things transpired in that year. Even in my personal life, my brother passed away. He was sick. He was such a beautiful human being to even say that I should go. He thought that I could do something to help the young ladies, knowing that he was really sick. And then my daughter always knew too, one phone call from her and I would immediately come back home. And my daughter never gave me that phone call, but she was showing signs that, you know, maybe she wanted me around during that senior year.
Yeah,
So
she missed you.
yeah, she did have an opportunity to come visit a couple of times, and so did my mom. She came to see a play that I did with them. So
Wow, what a wonderful experience. What an
yeah,
amazing experience.
the young ladies are amazing. And
Yeah.
you know, through a prayerful process, I also knew that's why I should go, because you know, lots of people are highly skilled educators that could go. My question was always why me, and I
Mhm.
needed that why me answered. And through the interview process and watching some of the video footage about the young ladies and all that, then I kind of understood.
This was a
Why,
match.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that is wonderful. So you have a new book that just came out, which
Yeah.
we want to hear about. But first, I wanted to ask you, why write a novel for this story, this amazing story that you've written? Why not make it a play? Why did you decide to switch?
Well, you know what? I don't have a long, elaborate answer. It's really a simple answer. It came to me as a novel. It just came
Hmm.
to me as a novel. I never had to consider, should I make this a play, a novel, a screenplay? I went to NYU dramatic writing program, so I've learned to write in all these different um, genres, if you will. But it literally just came to me as a novel. I knew it was a novel from the beginning. And you know, as I think about it in retrospect, uh, a play would hinder the story in a bit because you're limited with
Mm.
setting and how many characters. It would be very hard to pull off a play with, I would say, the cast that's in
Yes.
this novel.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So tell us about that's this is another thing that you and I have in common, besides love of August Wilson and Angela Lansbury. Um, and that is so I am a thriver. Uh, you know, I had been a victim and then a survivor and now a thriver. And I know that this story and also for my family, it was generational as
Mm.
well. So this your story just really touched my heart. So tell our audience about Girls in Search of Cover.
Sure. Um, you know, the generational aspect is just, I think it's a theme I've paid attention to from my youth. I've always, uh, I look at people today, and therefore I look at my characters, whoever they show up as in the present.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious about what caused them to be who I see today. And so I'm always kind of looking at the past to understand the present. And I believe my characters go through a philosophical journey, but a psychological journey. And I share a lot of that in my writing. So Girls in Search of Cover, I think is my finest work so far, by the way.
Mm.
And it deals with three generations of Black women, their family secrets, their unresolved trauma from sexual abuse and other abuses, quite honestly. And the main character, who is Carmia, she also faces antagonism from a religious, hypocritical church mother who's
Mm.
very respected in the environment. And um, she kind of convinces the whole community that this bloodline is cursed and it's her job to break the curse. So she goes through lots of obstacles due to that. But one of the things that I really love about this story is it doesn't just focus on the negative, it doesn't just focus on the abuse. It also has a look at generational things that are past that are beautiful and wonderful and that you want past. So generational strength and knowledge and um, paying tribute to your ancestry. And I interchange these ideas with biblical concepts of the cloud of witnesses cheering you forward. So it's kind of like these voices who takes her through this journey. And when she arrives at her destination, it's kind of like it's for all of them.
Wow, that is wonderful. That's amazing. Yeah, my work in progress right now is about my grandmother and how she tried to stop the generational, but failed, unfortunately. But there's goodness in the story too, happiness too. I'm with you. You got to have the good side and the bad side as
And
well.
I have characters who are just hilarious. So again, it's a kind of a tough topic, but it's a lot of fun and a lot of laughter too. Because I mean, I've written these characters, but they still make me laugh when their dialogue.
I totally get that because they're real. They're
Yeah,
real people. They're real people that you love. So
yeah.
there you go.
And
So
some you love to hate.
yes, yes, there's that too. So are you working on anything now?
You know, I'm primarily focused. It's so recent that I've launched this debut novel that I'm focused on promoting it and spreading the word and having so much fun getting the feedback. I'm at the point now where people are contacting me, and I just feel so good because what my heart's intent was for the book, that's the kind of feedback I'm getting back. The entertainment value is there, but it's really causing meaningful, reflective, yeah, and they get it. And so I'm overjoyed to get that feedback. Now, with that said, it's called Girls in Search of Cover Part 1. So I am feeling the pressure already for people who are like, when are we getting part 2? They've already finished it. Yeah. So I do have part 2 written, but I want to do a few little rewrites on it. So that's
and maybe give this one a chance to breathe a little,
right,
right. and gather a bigger audience and
absolutely,
yeah, give it just a little bit more time maybe.
Right. I'm not rushing to put it out. I kind of go through things prayerfully, so when it feels right, that's when I'll release it. But it is there and ready to go for the most part. Like I told you, I have a few little tweaks. But it's also causing me, by having conversations with people about part 1, I'm getting feedback in areas, things that are in the story that I didn't see it as clearly, as people are helping me understand more things that I've written. So
isn't that beautiful?
Impact. Yeah. And I didn't get a lot of feedback from male readers before my pub day. And now I'm getting more of that male feedback. And I did an interview with Cyrus Webb for Amazon Live. And one of the things he said is, this book could very well be called Girls and Boys in Search of Cover. And his questions were very interesting because he's coming from that male perspective, and he was showing me things that in some ways I paid some attention to it, but some things he just totally showed me what's there, to be quite honest.
Isn't that wonderful when our readers see things that we don't even see? That's just so awesome.
Yeah,
I'm always taken by people who say to me, well, what happens to them after? Mm-hmm. And because I don't have any part 2s for my 3 novels, each one is separate and a standalone. And I said, well, what do you think happened? I said, I know what I hope for them because I'm not in charge of them anymore. The reader owns them now, right?
It's so true.
Yeah. So it's like, what do you think?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we like to do, because this show is called What Are You Reading? What are you writing? So we like to offer some reading recommendations, 1 or 2 books that you would like to recommend to our audience.
Sure. What I'm reading currently is not available right now. I happen to have my hands on an advanced copy. It's called Light Skin Gone to Waste by Toni Ann Johnson. And that book will be available October of this year. And it's a collection of short stories. And she's already won the Flannery O'Connor Award for it. And it's really delightful. I love she again is dealing with some tough topics, some having to do with racism, some having to do with having parents who are narcissists and controlling a bit, but loving at the same time. But what I love about her style of writing is she is such an innocent, pure child's perspective of these things. I love the innocence of it. It's not like I'm proving a point or pushing a message, but the way a child thought of these things. So I'm really enjoying that. I also am looking forward actually to Kimberla Lawson Roby's novel that's about to come out in November, Sister Friends Forever. I've also been reading, let's see if I can remember, it's by Ya Gazi, Homegoing, and her book is set in Ghana in the 18th century, and it's about two half sisters who don't know each other, and they're having such different experiences. One is having a privileged experience because she married a white man, and another one is experiencing slavery. And I've just started reading it, but it's beautifully engaging already. And so interesting. It's such an interesting story. And I love learning the history and even cultural aspects that she's sharing. So.
Wow, that sounds good. You know, I'm very interested in that one. That's actually kind of the theme of, although this takes place in current day, but the first novel I wrote, Getting It Right, is about two half sisters, one white and one mixed race. And they're very different experiences and how they meet. This has been such a pleasure, Pamela. I thank you so much. Can you tell our audience how they can find you?
Absolutely. The easiest way, I'll simplify it, is to go to my website, and there you'll have access to all my social media handles. But my website is PamelaMshana.com or girlsinsearchofcover.com. Pamela is Pamela, Mshana is Mshana. And I emphasize the S because it sounds like there's an A in there, but it's not. So PamelaMshana.com or girlsinsearchofcover.com. And there you can engage with me, contact me, and also have access to my social media handles and know how to get the book and all of that. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share that.
Thank you so much. And I hope you guys will buy this book and read it and give Pamela the feedback that she clearly loves getting. I hope that you will be back with us next time for What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Thanks, everybody.
Wonderful.